Hello, YouTube. Hello, everybody. We're gonna fix it this time. It's gonna be time to fix it. Okay, I gotta fix my phone first. What's going on here? Something's amiss. It's not the cat's fault this time. Now it's about to be the cat's fault. Come on, cat. Is it strictly necessary? Anyway, sorry, everyone. Sorry. All right, here we go. Hello, hello. Gonna fix YouTube this time. Gonna get to some good people. I'm going to stay committed to my goal of meeting people who understand. Let me see. Okay. Let me know if there's anything wrong with the audio. I'm gonna meet my goal of going live until I break through the net and YouTube Trumpian misinformation, Russian propaganda campaign that's like ruining everything in the country right now. Just everything that's getting ruined right now by the same bad guys pulling the same plan on us over and over again, trying to 9/11 us over and over again. This time with this Charlie Kirk bullshit, like it's time to put a stop to him. And so, Jimmy Kimmel's the last straw, right? Like everybody loves Jimmy Kimmel. Like everybody thinks Jimmy Kimmel's hilarious because he is. Jimmy Kimmel's had some great jokes. He's been there to entertain us all this time. And this is how we repay him? By letting him get canceled like that and fired. I do think we should be watching the Jimmy Kimmel show however he's doing it. I would imagine that, he would be taking advantage of this by like streaming, like making a better name for himself and a better connection with his audience, like on YouTube or something. But, sorry, I was just on a tangent about Jimmy Kimmel there for a second because I do like Jimmy Kimmel. I look forward to connecting with him, say on YouTube or something. But I do need to talk about just breaking up this misinformation by the Timu KGB, FBI, by Kash Patel, Trump, and Putin. Breaking up this information network that's always blaming trans people. So I'm going to keep streaming until I find people who are open to that message, even if it takes, going through hundreds and thousands of people. I've gone through hundreds of thousands of people, and I found a few people who are open to that message. You know what I'm talking about. But because I get caught up in the comments by the trolls and Trump Trump-ooteniers and bots and comments, I don't necessarily get to talk to those people. So I'm going to have to stick to my plan to ignore the comments from the Trumpers, from the Trump Trump-ooteniers, from the trolls, and hold out for, believe in, like the real people who'll show up who can talk about this stuff. Even though, like, all of the media is suppressing it, all of the, even the freaking politicians, the senators, all the senators, meaning the Republican and Democrat senators, all voted for a Charlie Kirk Day. Like, it's getting really concerning. I mean, it's been concerning, but it's getting really extra concerning. Like, I didn't know he could say, based upon that evidence, that every single U.S. senator, all 100 U.S. senators, are white supremacists. I really thought we had some better ones. I mean, gosh, does that mean Bernie Sanders voted for Charlie Kirk Day? Or did some of the senators at least abstain from the vote? Am I getting this misreported? Does anybody know better in comments? I mean, there's only two of you, but do any two of you know better? Like I said, I'm committed to meeting people who can understand that Tyler Robinson's a groyper, that the groypers are, Nick Fuentes' branch of Trump and Putin's terrorist network, but Charlie Kirk is just another branch of Trump and Putin's terrorist network, and they're attacking themselves to then blame us and attack us, much the same as Putin has done in Chechnya, as Trump did in Butler with his crisis actor shooting that teleprompter in the fireman, as Netanyahu did with his October 9/11, and some would say as what 9/11 was as well. Or there's elements of that in 9/11 as well. And attacking yourself or allowing your allies to be attacked in order to provoke a response against them, or allowing your allies to be attacked, as Trump's doing with Putin and Poland, allowing your allies to be attacked because you're trying to show how much you side with Putin, to show that you're going to let everyone know you're going to be betraying those allies. That's a different dynamic. Actually, the other way around, Mark. Again, I'm not going to be talking to you. I mean, I'll talk to you while you're the only one here, but hopefully we'll get to enough people, net and YouTube. We'll throw enough people in here that at least somebody will be a good person who understands. Like you're not, and I understand that you're not a good person, and you don't understand. But yeah, so all the media. Would you agree, Mark, that all the media is going with Trump's side of the story, that his roommate is trans and things like that? Would you agree that every media outlet's doing that? Didn't you guys used to be like 5 minutes ago? Didn't you guys used to be super against the media? Didn't you guys used to say that the media always lied to you? In this case, I can't forgive the media for lying because they should do a better job. But they're all scared shitless. They all have to try to suck up to Trump in some way or another. And they feel like, going along with his claim that Tyler Robinson's roommate is trans without any evidence, is, one way to suck up to him. It only hurts the trans community, who everyone's hurting anyway. Whatever. It's not really an excuse. There's never an excuse to suck up to fascism, to, there's never an excuse to suck up to a tyrant or enable fascism. Anyway, we're looking for the people that can understand that Tyler Robinson is a groyper. The reason they have to keep mentioning that and deflecting away, well, this evidence doesn't mean he's a groyper. The reason they have to keep saying that stuff is because he is a groyper and they're trying to protect him. And trying to protect a groyper makes you a groyper. Just like trying to protect a pedophile makes you a pedophile. So that's why we need to call out Trump. We need to call out Netanyahu. We need to call out for the Epstein files. We need to call out the people who killed Charlie Kirk. Trump and Putin and Nick Fuentes and Tyler Robinson. Like, and Netanyahu. Like, don't forget, Candace Owens has been putting her life on the line for this work. So, for this particular work. The other things Candace Owens has done in her life, I don't particularly approve of. I do approve of her criticizing the genocide in Gaza. And these two things, telling us that they're lying about Charlie Kirk's murder. Those two things I appreciate about Candace Owens. Really don't like her. I lost a friend or someone I was trying to have a relationship with over my dislike for Candace Owens. I really don't like Candace Owens. Mark, keep looking then. You may find a 1 in 10 million nut job who agrees. Have a good night. I mean, I'm not looking for a nut job. You guys are nut jobs and not the nut jobs I'm looking for. You guys have a mind of Putin's own. Putin has programmed your mind and you've accepted it. And if you thought about it for just a second, wait, what if that guy was telling the truth and Putin has controlled our minds? And if we just question Putin, we'll see through it. We'll see the man behind the curtain and see through it and see that, well, they were telling us the truth all along. Trump is a Nazi. Trump is a pedophile. Trump is a traitor. And you don't want to be a pedophile and a traitor and a Nazi just because you didn't see through it, when that's all we've been telling you. Just see through, just keep in mind that maybe Putin's controlling Trump and being able to control Trump because he can, pull all the strings and plan for all the contingencies and have this massive plan for when Charlie Kirk gets assassinated. He's got this intricate plan ready to go. I don't know how much more information you need, but Putin does all that for Trump. Putin plans all this stuff for Trump. Trump's not that smart. He's just the one who can go along with the plan because the plan also keeps him, a step or two ahead of the consequences for being a sex predator, a child predator. I mean, that's kind of all it is, I mean, yeah, Trump also wants the power and the money and stuff, but he needs to be trying to stay steps ahead of being a sexual predator. That's why he campaigned this time on releasing the Epstein files to his base that he's made rabid about releasing the Epstein files. And then once he had the power to release the Epstein files, he didn't do it. Why didn't Joe Biden do it? The counter argument, probably because Joe Biden was protecting some people too, which makes him a pedophile and the wrong thing to do. But the other wrong thing that Joe Biden did was not arrest Trump for the insurrection, for the Trump insurrection, or many other crimes. That's the other thing Joe Biden did, besides not release the Epstein files. There were some very key things that Joe Biden did not do. He did not pass the candidacy down to Kamala or someone else. He didn't pass the candidacy down to Kamala or someone else, or allow a primary or something like that. There's a lot of things he didn't do. Geese 86, who I think I've seen before. I hate Trump to something, but I love Charlie Kirk. I mean, I think there's a lot of people like you who also hate Trump and love Charlie Kirk. Do you think Charlie Kirk was Christian? I mean, he wasn't. I mean, he was Christian, but the type of Christian that is an antichrist Christianity. It's not Jesus. Charlie Kirk was pretty much the opposite of Jesus. He's antichrist. He's especially antichrist now that people try to, compare his sacrifice to, make him like a Jesus martyr type figure. But Trump is probably still more antichrist because people still have this whole thing about Trump as Jesus, which is one of the really antichrist characteristics. Which is why I'd say Trump is more antichrist than Putin. Putin is more Satan, I guess. Putin is more evil. But Trump is more antichrist, which I guess makes sense. If Putin is like the god of Trump, and God, actually the goddess, is the goddess of Jesus, but Putin is the god of Trump, well then Trump is the antichrist and Jesus is the Christ to the goddess figure. Trump is the antichrist to the Satan figure, Putin. But I'm sorry, I'll say it this way, since you don't look at Charlie Kirk the way I look at Charlie Kirk, I'm sorry that someone you loved, the fact that you love Charlie Kirk, and he's gone, or if he's in heaven or whatever you want to say, if you believe it like that, then I'm still sorry for you losing someone that you would have preferred to hear longer and see their life, the second half or second 2/3 or second 7/8 of their life. Who knows these days? They're all Satanists. None of our politicians are religious. They're all Satanists. I can see that take, but Charlie Kirk promoted Donald Trump. So even though you hate Trump, your love of Charlie Kirk is somewhat misplaced, or at least I can, if you love him for some Jesus stuff, then you love Jesus, and Jesus can be in all sorts of people and come through all sorts of channels. But and there's nothing wrong with loving Jesus. Jesus is love, right? But Charlie Kirk, not the one. You'll get a lot more sources, better sources of Jesus, even some that aren't Christian, than Charlie Kirk. There'll be a lot of other better sources for Jesus and the love of Jesus than Charlie Kirk. But I probably appreciate your perspective, especially since you have such an evil opinion of Satanists. I think if you look up AOC, she actually says really good stuff in a Christian context. I really love AOC and Jasmine Crockett. I love Bernie Sanders too, and he's not a Christian or anything, but I think AOC and Jasmine Crockett are Christians, and I think if you looked up their references to Christianity and things, I think you would also be impressed. It's not. Sorry, my cat was here. It's not. It's not bad. Like I think Charlie Kirk uses Christianity to do bad things, which is pretty bad. Whereas AOC and Jasmine Crockett are doing quite the opposite. But yeah, so I do like those politicians. And there's probably other politicians I like, but then again, you think you like a politician for a while, like it seemed heroic that the Alex Padilla guy had stood up to ask, I don't know, Pam Bondi or somebody a question, and they had him arrested, or Christy Nome or somebody. He stood up to ask him a question, and the cops threw him to the ground, and they made it look heroic. But then he voted to give arms to Israel, like a month later, and it's like, to me, at that point, You should know better. If you know enough to oppose the kidnappings, you should know enough to oppose the genocide. And you should know better. And if you're not voting with, intersectionality and solidarity for all the different um, subjugated people, then you're exploiting the the pain and suffering of the immigrants who are being kidnapped, um, to promote the genocide in Gaza. And Charlie Kirk was apparently about to have a turning point in his support for the genocide in Gaza. And so that's one reason Netanyahu and that side of Israel benefits, and Zionists and stuff benefit from killing him. They're sending a message to their supporters: don't back down in your support, don't question them, and that they don't care. They're sending a message they don't care. Trump's doing the exact same thing. He's sending a message: don't question him about the Epstein files, even for a weekend. Don't question him about the Epstein files. And on top of that, he's sending a message, um, that he doesn't need the votes. He doesn't care if Charlie Kirk can get him votes, or, Charlie Kirk's death can get him a lot more votes. It's kind of the calculation they make anyway. Geese88 says, first Damon said MAGA, but Geese88 says, I think that's what drew people to Trump, because he wasn't a traditional politician. People get tired of the empty promises. Trump ain't doing shit either. He's doing a lot of stuff. It's just all bad stuff. I don't think he ever does anything good. I think the closest thing to a good thing Trump does is when he's about to do something, or he started doing something and then he undoes it. That's the closest thing to a good thing. I can't think of a single good thing he's done. I think he's really terrible. I've always seen him in the perspective of he's trying to destroy America for Putin, because Putin hates America. And I've seen him that way for years, for 10, 12 years, however long he's been around politically. I've always seen it that way. And everything he does makes sense with that. Now, again, you can say that's confirmation bias. You can say I'm, seeing what I want to see, but I don't want to see it. I wish this wasn't the case, but I've never been able to see an exception to that. So thanks for talking with me. Sorry about the MAGA people saying MAGA in chat. I did promise that I'm looking for the people who can understand that Tyler Robinson's a groyper, that all the media, and I mean all of it, like at least the mainstream media, the massively accessible media, and so many of these like social media creators that Net and YouTube keeps promoting, all the media is trying to steer people away from the conclusion that Tyler Robinson's a groyper in Nick Fuentes' terrorist cell. Yeah, I voted for Harris. So all the media is trying to steer people away from the conclusion that Tyler Robinson is a groyper, and he's in Nick Fuentes' terrorist cell. But that's the truth. Okay, you guys should be able to appreciate, if you guys are the kind of the right wing people, you guys should be able to appreciate that with all the media, I mean right wing media and left wing media, all of it's trying to steer you away from that conclusion. There's something to that conclusion, especially when there's a few leftists, myself, and some other ones whose content I've seen, who are honing in on that, and it all fits. Again, it's all uh, self-referential. The things that don't fit are the things like the transcripts between him and his supposedly trans roommate, which is actually Kash Patel trans fiction. Kash Patel chat KGB trans fiction. Geese says, fuck the Epstein files. I want the tax on tips and no tax on overtime. But he's destroying the economy. People aren't making nearly... People have lost a lot more money than they would save in no tax on tips, in less tips. Yeah, I voted for Harris, like all good Americans. And the people that didn't just got tricked. Like one of the things a lot of people got tricked on was him saying he'd stop the war in Gaza. He's made it a lot worse. He's made that genocide a lot worse. And I knew he was going to. I was against the genocide, which is why I knew, Harris was in trouble. Or, that I was saying for months that Biden was trading a landslide for a genocide. He would have won in a landslide if he could have stood up to stop the genocide. Even if he didn't stop the genocide, if he just stood up to Netanyahu in any way, even if he didn't back it up with any actions, even if he just said he was going to stand up to Netanyahu, he could have won the election, or won in a landslide, I believe, or Kamala could have won in a landslide. But instead, and he could have arrested Trump at any point in his entire presidency. And towards the later parts of his presidency, when he had immunity, he could have done fucking anything. But he didn't. He didn't arrest Trump. He didn't do anything. He didn't, stop Trump. That was the worst thing he did until Gaza. And then those two things are really both really bad. I mean, it's kind of, and it's not a contest, it's not a comparison. But yeah, the worst thing Biden did was not arrest Trump or not stop Trump. And then the second worst thing he did was support Israel doing their genocide. And we're still doing. We just voted today. Trump's USA, Russia too, just voted today to block the condemnation of genocide. And think about it like that. Russia probably voted to condemn it as genocide, but America was the only vote against it. But Russia knew America was going to vote against it. For one, because they always do. They always vote to protect Israel and block things at the Security Council. But also because, Russia's, as far as my calculations, again, Putin runs Trump. So not only does Putin run Trump, Putin effectively runs Netanyahu. Putin's at the head of all this network of all these right-wing leaders. And when Putin was struggling in his war in Ukraine, that he wasn't expecting to do, that's when he triggered the October 7th attack. That's when he did that for Netanyahu. And Netanyahu didn't defend himself on October 7th. He didn't defend his country on October 7th. He spent all this time since then defending, but he didn't defend it when it was necessary. He's had all this power that was not brought to bear on October 7th because it was his 9/11, if you know what I'm saying. Just like Putin had his own soldiers, Russian soldiers, attack Russian property somewhere, some Russian building, some Russian government office or army place or something, and then claim it was the Chechenian rebels in order to attack Chechenian rebels. Just like, from my opinion, Trump had a crisis actor, the misser, shoot a teleprompter in a fireman, kill a fireman. To, maybe not intentionally kill that particular fireman, but to risk killing other people, not Trump, to risk killing other people just to be able to attack us or to get sympathy in the campaign, just to help himself. Netanyahu, as far as I can tell, attacked himself, orchestrated an attack on himself in order to start this genocide he already had planned. Just like when they shot Charlie Kirk, they already had all these plans ready to go. So they knew it was planned. They may have known it was kind of up to when Nick Fuentes got one of his impressionable followers to do it, but one of his groypers, but they knew that was coming sometime soon. They knew the opportunities were there. I think it was probably even more planned than that, which my intuition tells me it was even more planned than that, that maybe it was even carried out by somebody entirely different than Tyler Robinson, but Tyler Robinson was already always ready to take the fall for it, that all that was planned out. Those text messages, though, I think those are fabricated. I think the recent text messages, the ones between him and his Groyper friends, where they're all not at all surprised by what he did, and they're like, just don't go to McDonald's, and they're all just joking about it, those seem legit. But the text messages between him and his supposed trans lover, those seem like Kash Patel got on Chat KGB and fed it all these prompts for his trans fic. But he was like, don't go too trans, because everybody's going to eventually figure out I wrote this, and they're going to think that I want to have a trans girlfriend. Like, I literally think that's exactly how it went down. What's your thoughts on Jimmy Kimmel being fired? Geese88 says, I think that could be the step too far. Like, they act like Charlie Kirk is the thing that's going to galvanize the right and, be the turning point for all. No. First of all, Charlie Kirk should be the turning point where people see through Israel and Trump, see through that these guys are playing. They're attacking themselves. It's MAGA on MAGA crime. And they're attacking themselves to blame Americans, to blame us on the left. So it's going to be a turning point in that sense. But firing Jimmy Kimmel, is going to show that people actually care a lot more about Jimmy Kimmel than they care about Charlie Kirk. A lot more. People care a lot more about Jimmy Kimmel. Let me be clear. People care a lot more about Jimmy Kimmel losing his job than they care about Charlie Kirk being killed, even in that way, even in front of all of it. They care more about Jimmy Kimmel losing his job because people genuinely love Jimmy Kimmel. And the people who love Charlie Kirk, like, I'm sorry, I'll just put it this way, their love is fake. Their Jesus is fake. There is a real Jesus, but he's not the Jesus of Charlie Kirk. Okay? It's so Vance 2028 Musk says, it's funny you think like this. What's funny about it? Vance 2028 Musk says, just listening to you speak is fucking something. They use the word people used to use in the 80s for, I mean, like mentally handicapped people. Peace Buddha says, of course you do. You'll believe anything if it lets you to continue the delusion of him being a conservative. Why would you be called Peace Buddha if you're a Nazi? I mean, it's what you guys say, except say it to yourselves. I'm not the one, okay? I know the truth. You guys believe lies. Like, I can't say it much more plainly than that. Like, listen to what I'm saying. Consider what I'm saying. And by the way, well, let's read what Darren says. Why didn't Biden release the Epstein files? Because he was protecting people too. Why did all the Democrats vote to release the Epstein files recently, and all the Republicans voted to save it? And it really came down to whether one or two of them could change their mind. I don't think it's because none of the Democrats wanted to protect anybody, but enough of them knew that even if they voted for it, they still weren't going to do it. You know, there was going to be enough votes against it. So they could safely vote against. Just like Trump can say, you know, I would put more sanctions on Russia if the rest of Europe does, when he knows Orban won't and other Putin puppets in Europe won't do it. If he knows that, then he can make that statement and sound like he's being the tough guy, but he's not because he knows they won't. And he's just working for Putin. But yeah, why didn't Biden release the Epstein files? Why didn't Biden arrest Trump? Why didn't Biden stop Netanyahu or put up at least a significant enough resistance to Netanyahu to keep his supporters and keep some enthusiasm from the Democrats instead of disgust with his genocide? Because we knew that's what it was from the beginning. Why didn't he do that? Probably because he's working for Putin too. Like, frankly, probably because what's her name, Hillary Clinton's working for Putin too, just like Trump is. Frankly, Bernie Sanders, I don't think is working for Putin. That was the off ramp for everybody working for Putin options that we had back in 2016. But look where everybody doing all this crap for Putin's gotten us. It's gotten your precious Charlie Kirk shot for one thing. And Trump is responsible for that no matter who did it. Trump is responsible in different ways. No matter what scenario you have, Trump is responsible for Charlie Kirk um, getting shot for Tyler Robinson shooting Charlie Kirk. If you want to believe that Tyler Robinson shot Charlie Kirk for his love of his girlfriend, his trans roommate, whatever you want to call it, if you want to believe that Kash Patel's story, then Trump is responsible for that. Because there was no reason for Trump to be, I mean, there was reasons, but there was no reason for anyone to be demonizing trans people and talking bad about trans people. That didn't have to happen. It's part of a Nazi plan to destroy our country, to take over and destroy our country. But it didn't have to happen, and Trump's responsible for it. So, if, on the other hand, it has nothing to do with trans people, and this is just a conservative, a MAGA guy, who is disillusioned with Charlie Kirk for calling for the Epstein files, challenging Trump, or disillusioned for Charlie Kirk for calling for the Epstein files, but then backing down. Somebody who really believes in the Epstein files being released. And it's like, now Charlie Kirk is just saying trust the government. He's going to stop talking about the Epstein files. Well, he's going to stop talking about anything. Plenty of Trump supporters / Charlie Kirk supporters could feel that way. So it might have nothing to do with trans anything. It could have to do with something like that, like Nick Fuentes being, more right-wing and his supporters thinking that they're going to be heroes to each other. I mean, the way he texted his friends, who I think are also groypers, I think they're all groypers, Nick Fuentes followers in the Nick Fuentes terrorist cell. The way he texted his friends shows that they weren't at all surprised. They were laughing about it. He thought it would, give him cred with his friends and in this Groyper community. It's not a video game community, it's a terror network under Putin and Trump. It's part of the Putin and Trump terrorist network, just a different branch than Charlie Kirk. It's funny you think like this, someone said. I have more money in my savings now than the last 4 years. Darren says, it's just a weird reason to support this stuff. Vance 2028 says ghost guns, just completely out of context as far as I can tell. And then says, I bet that ice cream is actually fruit and vegetables. I don't know what that means. Vance 2028 says Donald Trump is actually a kitty cat dressed up as an orange. That's you. Peace Buddha says calling me a Nazi after one disagreement. You're in deep, bud. That's disgusting behavior. No, peace Nazi. You can't call yourself Buddha, okay? You can't go around calling yourself Peace Buddha. We're going to get your information for the Nazi hunters. Like, I'm not joking. You fuckers support Trump, you're a Nazi. You joined 13 years ago. You got 4 subscribers. Stop calling yourself Peace Buddha. It's disrespectful. The people calling him a Nazi constantly allowed mentally ill people to think of him as less than human, which convinced them it's okay to dispose of him. No, that's no real narrative. Even your narrative is he was doing it for his trans lover, for love, because Charlie Kirk spreads hate, because he is a Nazi. But that's not the. It's not calling him that. You're correctly identifying him as a Nazi. First of all, that's the important thing. Trump is trying to demonize calling his side Nazis so that they can be Nazis. Like they make it, they ban that word on TikTok, but that's what they actually are. And they're worse than Nazis because they're also pedophiles because they're supporting Trump being a pedophile. Dad's bedtime story says, you are a lying demon. Philip November says, Dad's bedtime stories. Go to sleep, my boy, my little boy. Philip November said hi. Hello, Philip November. You have a cool name. How'd you get to be called Philip November? And that's okay. Philip November. Let me just say, while you're here, thank you for subscribing. Please enjoy my content. Please comment on my content, and we'll have more conversations in the future. But while you're here right now, I really only want to talk to people like you who can already understand this. I really have no interest in. I was just arguing with these people so they keep commenting, so we could get to somebody like you. Usually, it takes a few hundred people that Net and YouTube puts in my life before I get somebody who can understand. They're lying about Charlie Kirk. They killed Charlie Kirk to blame us, just like BB's 9/11, just like Putin did, just like the crisis actor shooting that teleprompter and firemen around Trump. Peace Buddha says, this guy's sick in the head. I'm reporting him for quite literally threatening me. Nobody threatened you. I said you should change your name. I said you're a Nazi. You should stop being a damn Nazi. You should change your name. The only way to stop being a Nazi is not to stop breathing or something, because all your life is to be a Nazi. Just stop being a goddamn Nazi. Simple. Saber Gamer says, haha, fuck, dude. You can hardly read. Yeah, it's tiny little letters. I don't have the best vision. These aren't like real glasses. These are just blue block glasses. I probably should use real glasses. Darren says, no, my RV repair is booked up till 2026. I was scraping by the last 4 years. People are spending more money. It's the truth. My big account tells me so. People are spending less money where I see because the tariffs are eating up everybody's money. The inflation's eating up everybody's money. ST Hellraiser says, if you're not interested in debate, then what is left? We can debate whatever you want to debate, ST Hellraiser. I didn't notice your previous question. Philip November. I had to use my name as I am unable to use my last account. So I had to use my name. That's a cool name. Sorry you can't use your last account, but glad to see you here. My name's Puffin, or I go by Puffin, and hopefully you'll enjoy my content. Okay, Peace Buddha says things. I guess I'll read them. You said you were going to send Nazi hunters after me. That's a literal threat. No, not. It's inevitable. It's a noble profession to not hunt Nazis. We make movies and TV miniseries about how Nazi hunters go around and hunt Nazis who are 80, 90 years old, fled to Brazil or something, or wherever, living in Chicago or something. They're hunting Nazis, and then they'll go catch a Nazi, and we celebrate that for decades after the Holocaust. That's you, my guy. Stop being goddamn Nazis. Stop supporting Trump in his concentration camp. Or else, at least at a certain level, once you do certain things to support this regime, it will be legitimate for Nazi hunters to hunt people down all the time. Yeah, will they get to people that were in my comments? Maybe, maybe not. There's a whole lot more of us in our review, though. You act like a middle schooler thinks he's a ninja. I mean, no, I don't really think I'm a ninja. We call it illiterate, Saber Gamer said. ST Hellraiser says, then why not answer my last question? I didn't see your question, Hellraiser. Just say it again. I'll probably shut down the live pretty soon because I'm not really getting that many good people. I think the good person may have left. Philip November may have left. Geese88 says, peacefully dialogue, guys. Yeah, I guess I could be the one who's always turning down the temperature and always being super nice. I'll try that, because I was about to go to bed anyway. Peace Buddha says, he's not peaceful, no dialogue to be had. You just have the name Peace Buddha. You don't understand what either of those things are. Like, I'm sorry. I think of you as a problem. I think of you as like you represent a lot of problem that you can solve and be a much better person. Like the problem, one way to see the problem is to see Trump's influence upon you and say how that's a problem. And say, hey, wait, that influence is great. That influence is a problem. You'll see it someday. You might not see it because I said anything in this live, but you'll see it someday. Okay, Philip November is still here. Great. Yeah, Geese88 speaking to everyone. Geese has got a pretty good attitude lately, and I've had a pretty good attitude lately, so maybe I can accredit that to Geese also having a good attitude. So thanks for being in my live with such a good attitude. I can get set off by people I disagree with, Trump Putineers as I call them, people who've betrayed America for Trump and Putin. I can get set off by that, by what they represent and the fact that they're going to talk about those things because of the things I talk about in my life. But if I have other people to talk to, then I don't get set off nearly as much, and I can stay pretty relaxed. Philip November says, Peace Buddha, no, your side do not want to listen nor have any good faith debates. It's true. Charlie Kirk wasn't a good faith debater or a free speech person, or he's just a hate speech. He was just a Zionist, a Nazi Zionist, not Zionist. Versus, what's his name? Nick Fuentes is a Klan Nazi. It's two different branches of the same Trump terrorist network. Peace Buddha says, Philip, we need to have good faith debates. The left killed him. But see, the problem with that, Peace Buddha, is that's what they were saying from the beginning, before they had any evidence. And they're continuing to say it now, and their evidence looks more and more suspiciously fake. Just the more evidence they have, the more suspiciously fake it looks. Up to the most suspiciously fake evidence, the text exchange between Tyler Robinson and his roommate that prove he's trans and all this stuff. Or prove she's trans, his roommate was trans, whatever. All that stuff is so fake, okay? But the other stuff was fake too. I mean, it's not all fake. Some of it's probably real. But the way I'm phrasing it, every which way you look at it, Trump is responsible. Trump is in there responsible in different ways, in different capacities. In this scenario, he's responsible in this way. In this scenario, he's responsible in this way. But Trump is always responsible. And if you're not willing to see that, you're not going to understand my position, because that's firmly my position. I can explain any example if you want to have a debate about that. But I would also like to ask people in the chat, do you support Charlie Kirk and his Zionist side of the Trump Putin thing, terrorist network? Or do you support Nick Fuentes and Tyler Robinson, who shot him, and the Groyper clan, really anti Semitic, really racist side of the Trump Putin terrorist network? Zionist or Groyper? Which one are you? Which one are you personally, or which one are you more like? Whose side are you in on those two different sides of the Trump Putin terrorist network? So Trump bad, yes. Just Jay McBrownie, Trump bad. You're all caught up. That's as far as we've got so far. Peace Buddha says your position is mentally ill. That's the only problem. So you're not having a good faith discussion. You were just whining about having a good faith discussion. But instead of typing out something that has anything to do with what I'm saying, you just say your side is mentally ill. That's why I just say you're a Nazi pedophile. We don't need to talk. Like, I'll go ahead and mute you, you fucking Nazi pedophile who named yourself Peace Buddha and decided to troll my live. You see how that works? Or one more chance, you can say one more thing. So go ahead and hit enter on whatever you previously typed, because you get to say one more thing. And that thing better have something to do with either which side you're on, Groyper or Zionist, or it better have something to do with whether you can consider that Trump is doing this to get you all riled up. If you can consider anything that I'm saying, and I can tell from your words that you've listened to something I said. You lost that privilege when you threatened me, dumbass. Nobody threatened you. All I'm threatening to do is to mute you, which I'm about to do. Trump's Russian. Is that what you said? Trump's Russian? Oh, Trump's your daddy. No, Trump's Russian. Diverse music. I think they've been here before. What a weird thing to say when your name is Diverse Music. Okay, Philip November says, Peace Buddha. Yeah, we don't have to talk to Peace Buddha anymore. I'm going to go ahead and mute him. Peace Buddha, if you were having a live stream and we were in your chat, you would be kicking us out, shutting our voices down. Yeah, just like he whines about not having a good faith discussion and then does not want to discuss. Like, I already forgot what the question was I asked him because he had to distract with something else. Yeah, pick a side, McBrownie. Saying both sides is picking Trump's side. Trump's Nazi, Trump's a pedophile. You don't really have any excuse, or there's just no defense for picking pedophiles. Good faith, but you'll call me a Nazi for disagreeing. No, you're a Nazi. I'm gonna go ahead and mute you for being a Nazi. Done with the Nazi conversations. Probably won't even be live for 5 more minutes, but you'll be muted for that time. All right, thanks. Now we don't have to listen to Peace Buddha anymore. Philip November, I'm already blocked that loser. Thanks. Yeah, I just blocked him for the entire chat. You're welcome, chat. Jay McBrownie, too bad we can't mute everyone, and we could AI, we could all. Yeah, this is the only other person kind of ruining the chat. So, thanks for being here. Just pointing out that Trump basically killed Charlie Kirk. They're all the fucking same, okay? They're all interchangeably the same. They picked one of the biggest ones to kill to try to get the most bang for their buck, and they didn't. And because it really worked to both Trump and Netanyahu's advantage. Charlie Kirk, there are all these clear indications that he was, changing his support for Israel in the genocide. And then he questioned Trump about the Epstein files. Also, there's a connection there. But that's it, him questioning Trump about the Epstein files and Trump sending a message, don't question about the Epstein files. J. Mac Brownie says, I live in peace. Command Fox 1 says, echo chamber. Jay McBrownie says, and quiet. We just gotta vote harder. I like your style, Jay McBrownie. I feel in charge, don't you? I mean, you can. Do you like to feel in charge? Would you like to feel more in charge? Could you use some self-esteem? I can give you some self-esteem. Philip November says his wife included. Wait, what is wife included? We just gotta vote harder. His wife included. I mean, I'm not. I don't know if I'm following that reference, but I feel like there's a joke there. Anyway, sorry about the MAGA Trump Hooteners. I promised myself that I would focus on not reading or responding to their comments. That I would only wait until somebody who's worth talking to showed up. So thank you for showing up because you're worth talking to, and that would make everything better. So if more people show up who are worth talking to, I might stay live a little bit longer. But as it is, 15 minutes tops, maybe more like 5 or 10, because I'm tired. I should be going to bed. And I really just want to get through to the people that know that Tyler Robinson's a groper. I just want to get through and have some solidarity to know that, hey, there's other people out there that even net and YouTube will let them find my live. And that we'll be able to talk about how Tyler Robinson's a groper, how it's MAGA on MAGA violence, how Trump is having his side attack itself to blame us, very much like Putin and Netanyahu have done, and Trump has done in the past. And it's just time to call that out. And I just want to reach people who can understand that, who can relate to that, and who are, if they're like me, frustrated with seeing all these media outlets just repeat Trump lies and try to suck up to Trump by telling the Trump side of the story or the Trump lies of the story and ruining it for everybody. Is my audio coming through well, by the way? Can anybody tell if my audio is coming through well? I'm just going to do this little trick. It's not. Because I noticed on some of the live replays, the audio gets poppy. Spotty. Poppy. Anyway, thanks for talking with me. Nice to meet you. You might enjoy my content and comment on my content, and we can talk more. Um, yeah, I kind of feel like I still have the goal of reaching somebody who understands Tyler Robinson's a groper. He's a MAGA who shot Trump's, and I think you would think that it would be easy to find people talking about this because why was Jimmy Kimmel fired for saying that the shooter was MAGA? But he was. He donated to Trump. I mean, that's not the main thing. I saw people try to say he couldn't have donated to Trump. He was 16 years old. If he had $250, he could have. You know, I mean, I think he could have figured out how to donate to him. Trump would have taken the money. I don't think Trump would have been like, "You're 16, I can't take anything from you." I think Trump might have taken a lot of things from 16-year-olds. Anyway, because he's a pedophile. The reference there was to Trump being a pedophile. And so are the people that support him. So we just got to call that out. We got to call out he's a Nazi and a pedophile and a traitor. Like, because Nazi and pedophile weren't enough to turn people against him. So we've got to hone in on, focus on how he's also a traitor. And so are his supporters. And they shouldn't deserve the punishment that Trump gets until Trump gets it. And then they just shouldn't necessarily deserve the punishment that Trump gets. They should then have the option to say, oh, wait, now that we've all kind of seen how it plays out when somebody's just a total traitor and a pedophile and a Nazi, I don't want to be associated with that anymore. And just denounce him. And that's all we ask. You know, just realize you made a mistake. You could do that before bad things happen to Trump, too. You could say, you realize you made a mistake. And, you know, people won't blame you for it. In fact, you'll be seen as a hero just to call out and be willing to talk about, oh, when I used to believe in Trump and I used to believe in this Charlie Kirk stuff, you know, I was following this Antichrist. And now that I found real Jesus, then everything's great, you know? You know, I'm so free from all this evil hate that I was subjected to with this Antichrist, fake Jesus. But yeah, they're trying to get people to replace Jesus with Charlie Kirk, and then they're trying to make people like, if you don't worship Charlie Kirk, you can't work. You're not allowed to work if you don't worship Charlie Kirk. It's just like, you know, that's so stupid and cheesy, and nobody likes him. And people care more about Jimmy Kimmel than him. And you'd think that when all Jimmy Kimmel said is the guy who shot him was MAGA, there would be enough conversation about that. Is it true or not true? And, you know, most of the people that net YouTube finds from my lives, in comments, they say, you know, we all know he was a leftist. I mean, that was the first comment in this live tonight. We all know he was a leftist. That's just denying. That's no. You guys all claim that from the beginning, but you also claim he was trans from the beginning. And the fact that you're still going to try to salvage your blame for trans people and leftists as much as possible, and call people leftists and trans as much as you possibly can until you're proven wrong, just goes to show that's the only thing that's leftist and trans in the story, is your willingness to call anybody and anybody associated or connected leftist and trans. You're claiming that he got radicalized at the Utah Community College. You can't get radicalized at a real. You can't get leftist. I don't even mean radicalized, but you can get radicalized for sure by the right. You can't get leftist influence at big colleges and universities these days. Hardly, I doubt. I mean, maybe you can. I've like been hanging around, but like, I don't see any evidence of that. Or very little evidence of that. I think people get a lot of leftist education on apps, or they did on TikTok before TikTok got captured by Krasnov. But when you get some education here, check out my content. There's a lot of it that's not specifically about any of this stuff, but there's a lot of it that's about this stuff, and I think it's highly educational. I think you learn a lot from it. So anyway, I'm going to be shutting down the live because people aren't talking, but we'll be talking again soon. And hope y'all have a good night. And yeah, just don't believe these lies they tell about if they're blaming trans people, they're lying. Like the same way they try to make it like you either worship Charlie Kirk or we hate you and we're going to do everything bad to you. We got to flip that around. Be like, if you guys are repeating their lies about trans people, and if you guys aren't realizing that Trump is responsible for killing Charlie Kirk, then we don't need to talk. Like, there doesn't need to be any conversation here. You don't even need like internet access or access to the public to spread your kind of captured ideas, the minds captured by Putin and Trump. So anyway, y'all have a good night. See you later. Let's stop the bad guys. And I guess I'll keep streaming next time until I find somebody who can appreciate that Tyler Robinson being a groiper and Trump doing this MAGA on MAGA crime to blame us is very much like, October 9/11 and what Putin did with his Chechnyan rebels and what Trump did in Butler, Pennsylvania, and just all this stuff. It's all the same playbook, and we just need to stop letting him keep running this play on us and attacking themselves and blaming us to do all the next level of terrible thing. Thanks. Have a good night.